A landmark Supreme Court hearing began today on whether to allow doctor-assisted suicide. The justices are being asked to consider whether current laws prohibiting assisted suicide violate the rights of terminally ill Canadians to die on their own terms. Our senior correspondent, Terry Malevsky, has more for us from Ottawa. Terry.
Well, Peter, this is a case where everyone has a stake and everyone knows the stories. The loved one who's paralyzed, in pain, wants to end their life, but the doctor is not allowed to help them die. Now the court is being urged to rule that it's okay to help.
This is a momentous occasion.
Nobody argued with that. With overflow seating in the courthouse and protesters outside, the court was pressed to reverse the ban on doctor-assisted suicide, a ban it upheld 21 years ago.
It certainly requires the court to determine if the state has the right to require our family members, our friends, ourselves to endure intolerable suffering as a result of a medical condition when that suffering is worse than life itself.
To that, the federal government's lawyers said yes.
Protection of the vulnerable and the preservation of life are as vital today as they were 21 years ago.
But things have changed since then. Now there's growing pressure to rewrite the law.
If a competent adult wishes to end their lives, who's the state to say no?
And the justices had similar questions, repeatedly asking federal lawyers about the suffering of those not physically able to end their lives.
Do you accept that one of the effects of the law is to prolong suffering?
One of the effects of the law can be to prolong suffering. Yes.
Well, not can be.
In some circumstances will be. Yes.
Why shouldn't the law operate in a way that makes equally accessible to those who are physically as well as those who are not physically able to get the benefit of a more compassionate approach to suicide?
Because the objective is to preserve all life. All life is valuable.
But the Chief Justice, too, came back to the same question.
If your only way is to somehow try to refuse food and water, it's a long period of suffering compared to someone who has a choice of another method. And it's hard to just overlook that suffering.
It's also hard to overlook that Chief Justice McLaughlin is the only justice who was on the court back in 1993 when the ban on doctor-assisted suicide was upheld. She was against it then, but she was in the minority. Now it doesn't sound like that's still true, Peter.
Terry Malevsky in Ottawa. Thanks, Terry.